Call the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. Today is March 6th, 2019. If you'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Been here nearly a couple hours already. We had a special meeting before this meeting that was the end of our budget visits with all our departments. We'll go into deliberations later this meeting. We are starting this meeting at about 23 past 7, which is following the budget review meeting, as our amended agenda indicates. Are there any additional agenda or consent items?
Yes, add to the agenda item 4MM to appoint Linda Fecto to Youth Services Commission.
That's a good choice. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second that.
That's terrific. It's been seconded. Any further comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Anything else?
No.
Delegations. Anyone like to speak tonight? Anyone like to speak tonight? Last 1/3 time. Anyone like to speak this evening on delegations? Okay, the approval of the minutes. Special budget meeting of February 19th.
Move to approve the special budget meeting minutes of February 19, 2019 as submitted.
I'll need a second.
Second.
Okay. Any comments or corrections? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain?
Abstain.
2 abstentions.
Then I'll move to approve the special budget meeting minutes of February 20th, 2019 as submitted.
Second.
And seconded. Corrections? Comments? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain?
Abstain.
Okay.
And then I'll move to approve the regular meeting minutes of February 20, 2019 as submitted.
Second.
Comments or corrections? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Abstain.
Okay.
Move to approve the consent calendar for the meeting of March 6, 2019 in the amount of $664.84.
Second.
Okay. Any comments, corrections? Well, no corrections. Any comments? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? That's terrific. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Board of Education budget presentation. We thank the Board of Ed for coming out tonight and giving us a short presentation, kind of a pregame to your big presentation to the Board of Finance. But it is proper in that we do have to move your budget through and technically vote on it. It would be proper to get some of the details. So thank you for coming out tonight, Superintendent Newton, and your whole crew is with you.
Pleasure, yes. Brought some of the key players, I will call them, in the mix. Let me just introduce them as well. Kim Davis is our Director of Student Services. Amy Drown is our Assistant Superintendent. And Mariana Stevens behind is our Director of Finance and Operations. So I want to thank them for joining us tonight. And yeah, we'll kind of go through. I left you a PowerPoint up there with some slides. So I just want to kind of run through some of those slides. Some we'll move pretty quick on in the essence of time. And then we have our budget books. We'll pass those out to you. And I just want to reference 2 quick pages in that for you to kind of hone in on. They really kind of ties our our numbers together in the beginning. So let me, if you don't mind, if you could just turn to page 1 or page 2, I should say, of the slides. Our presentation purpose. As we do each year, and this is my 4th year presenting the East Lyme budget for the next fiscal year. We've worked very hard to continue to clearly articulate what our budget purpose is and why our numbers are what they are. This year, and looking at next year, we're very mindful of the fact that our town has graciously approved, $37.5 million alteration projects for our 3 elementary schools. That costs money, and we understand that. Also, our capital needs, too, are another piece that factor in that we'll be looking at down the road. We've got 2 other buildings, our middle school and our high school, as well as our central office building, that will require some dollars in the future. And then we continue to focus on some zero-based budgeting practices, kind of working real hard to build our budgets, from the ground up, looking in closets and not just rolling over budgets from the year past because that was the number we used. Let's just use it again. That's not how budgets work, and that's not how we operate. On slide 3, I just want to reference again those elementary renovation projects and also redistricting as a piece of this. Quickly, we're on schedule and we're on budget with those projects, which is a good thing. We're about halfway through, and they're coming along nicely. And when we move into the spring and beginning of next year, we'll want to do some tours and open those up for our community to see. Through the redistricting process that will follow, that will start next year, we have quite a few efficiencies. We're going to talk about some of those in some of these slides coming up. And redistricting is never an easy decision to make, and it's a challenging one. And I just want to credit our Board of Education for sticking to their guns and equally balancing out our 3 elementary schools at approximately 300 students. It is over and done with. I've sent out official notification letters to parents. There's always still some folks that are upset about having to move schools, but for the most part, we are ready to go with that. And it's exciting. We're very excited about next year with new buildings at the elementary level, as well as filling them up equally across those 3 buildings. Slide 4, just to reference our 5-year long-range plan and those long-range goals. Everything we do is focused around these 3 core areas on slide 4. Number 1, focusing our decisions and system operations on student success, to our collaborative cultures, and through our student-centered learning. That first one, big push in this next year's budget is sitting around technology, and we're going to talk about that down the road a few slides. For number 2, regionalization and regionalism. There's been a lot of talk about regionalism, as we know. We do a lot of those efforts already, and I'll point out a couple of those that we're working on to save money and collaborate with other towns, other school districts, and collaborate with our town here, between Board of Ed and town. And then our student-centered learning, really our social and emotional goals and support for kids. Last year, the Board of Finance approved, a budget with a reduction, but we were still able to obtain some social workers within that budget, which is extremely helpful as we look at the numbers this year in bringing forth those social workers to support our families. So those are our 3 main goals, and we keep those at the forefront of all that we're doing and all the work as we move forward. The budget process for 2019-2020 on slide 5. When we were all in and we put everything together and got all of our school budgets, we were sitting at a 5.56% increase over the current fiscal year. We realized that's an awfully high number, so we started working at that. We came and had a budget workshop with our Board of Education. We had some Board of Finance members that were part of that, talk through some of our numbers, and we focused on the 4.21% increase. And on the next slide, I'll show you some of the reductions to get us from 5.56 down to 4.21. So at that budget workshop, we talked about the 4.21, and the Board of Ed really said, still too high. We've got to do some more work. We went back, we sharpened our pencils, we did more work, and brought it down to 3.18%, which was the Board of Ed's adopted increase, which I'm bringing forth to you this evening. On that next slide, on slide 6, you can kind of see our breakdown of the reductions. We started again at the 5.56. After that first budget workshop, we reduced 2 buses for next year. Redistricting helped us with that. Staff reductions. Overall, through this whole process for next year, we're looking at 10 staffing position reductions, 3 certified, 3 non-certified, 6 certified, 7 certified, 3 non-certified, and then we have 1 an 11th an administrative position, which is our director of technology position, which we've reworked in the technology world. I'll show you those numbers in a few slides in just a bit. And then for our second budget workshop to get down to 3.18, we did those additional reductions of some staffing, worked out a new copier contract and saved us $9,000. Reduction in some insurance, as well as some further reductions in legal fees, and some in security hours as well, which was an overall savings of about $1.1 million, 1.139, when you add those two numbers together. So that got us down to where we are right now, 3.18%. So a lot of work and effort went into that. It was a tough budget. A lot of tough budget discussions because we had some new initiatives that we wanted to put forward this year, some math coaches, a little support in the HR area. Mark had mentioned the town, you've got a little bit of HR time. We don't have those things, so that's something we were trying to put into next year's budget, and it didn't work out with where our budget number is at the Board of Ed side. Slide 7, just an overview of where our previous town-approved and final budgets have been. We're hovering around, that same area. And just a disclaimer, the START area at the town meeting back in October, there was an additional appropriation that was added to our budget to help offset the cost of projected higher insurance numbers. So we're working off of that number. So I just want to make sure that's referenced if numbers look different anywhere between the town budget and ours. Some savings in some of our history on savings as we look at the last 4 years that we've been trying to really streamline budgets. We've done a lot of work. New food service program that came into play. Our operating budget had expended out for a number of years, 2013 to 17, over $300,000. Our operating budget was offsetting the cost of the food service program, which is supposed to run on its own and be self-sustaining as a revenue program. We have fixed that. We have our own. We got rid of our contracted service last year, brought in our own food service director. We're to the black by $36,000 currently for this year. So that was a big help. And as we project out, that's going to save us well over $100,000 in the next 5 years if we continue to be on the same track that we've been on. A lot of consolidation for curriculum software and professional development. Our assistant superintendent, Mrs. Drown, has done a lot of work there, pulling up from the schools, where in the past we had 3 elementary schools that were doing 3 different curriculums at one point, and doing going out and getting their own software and spending those dollars. It's all consolidated now. So we were able to save a lot of money the last couple of years in that area. Natural gas, we've rolled over buildings to natural gas from oil. Only building that we have now on oil is Nyack Center. The other ones are natural gas. Can't get that line down. Maybe we can work on that together and get that line further down to the south end of town. Our regional efforts continue. This year I'm sharing a program with Waterford Public Schools for any students that we expel. We are able to send, we have a student that's over in that program right now. It's an alternative program because new legislation, new law came forth where you can no longer just provide a tutor for 10 hours a week to a student who's expelled. You have to provide 900 hours of an education to a student. That would cost us a lot of money if you've got a handful of students that could be out discipline-wise. I'm now just simply paying per pupil expenditure over to Waterford. I put this child in the Waterford program, saved me $17,000. So those things that we're really trying to work together on when we talk about working with other districts. So that's a plus. So that could add up if we have other students that are out for any reason. Collaborative efforts with the town as well. Joe Bergaw, Public Works, and and Dave Putnam and Park and Rec, and all the town employees. I was just telling Mark today, Justin Porter has been fabulous to work with. We're sharing some snow plowing services, and that's worked out very well.
Do we still have an outside plow service?
No, we got rid of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we took that away.
Thought so.
Because that's something we were spending almost $20,000 on a year, and so we eliminated that. So that saved us some money. So, estimated savings over the last 4 years, roughly almost $400,000 that we've worked hard to obtain. On the next slide, slide 9, there's that breakdown that gives you a clear picture of, the budgetary staff reductions. 6 for redistricting purposes, 3 certified staff and 3 paraprofessionals. And that doesn't change the class sizes at the elementary level at all. They remain the same. It's just with the reconfiguring and moving of people around and moving kids around, we were able to eliminate 3 certified positions. And through retirements, people aren't losing their jobs too, which is important. That's the one thing we don't want to do, is have people lose their jobs. We had a number of retirements at the elementary level. We're just not filling those positions. Enrollment fluctuations, got a couple slides on enrollment I'll show you in a minute, but middle school, we've got a smaller population. There's some bubbles that are going through our middle school and high school that are smaller populations. So 4th graders coming up to 5th grade, we got a smaller class size. So we're able to reduce 1 middle school certified teacher, and we have 1 retirement at the middle school level. So that worked out okay. And then 3 high school certified staff. The high school is the one building that over the next 5 years or so is going to be reducing in numbers. Currently they sit a little over 1,000 students, all in with Salem included. Going to be projected down around 900 students in the next 5 years, and then we'll have the bubble at the elementary level, which is climbing, start to go back, come through and go back up. So total savings, you're looking at $613,552 in staffing savings. Additional cost avoidance measures on slide 10. We felt this was a great one for kids. We are moving. We have I'm sure you've heard of the Coastal Connections program, small project-based program that's at the high school level. About 22 kids that are off campus right now. We're paying rent to a facility here in town, costing us $30,000. We've eliminated that for next year. We're moving them into our central office building. We've moved everybody around in central office. We're going from the middle floor to the basement where we are right now. We're going to the top floor next year.
Oh, really?
Yes. So we're moving ourselves all around, and we're that middle floor where my office has been and Amy's office has been is going to become the Coastal Connections program. So that's going to save us quite a bit of money. If you look at it over the next 5 years, there's $150,000 in rent that we're going to save, and it allows less transportation because kids can walk. A lot of those students will go back and forth between the Coastal Connections program and the high school for classes and different things. They might take one class at the high school but come back. So now they can walk. We don't have to drive them 6 different times in the course of a day, which is a savings. Reduction of 2 school buses, $100,000 there. And I mentioned that copy services contract, which Amy and Mariana did some great work on. Got us all new copy machines this year, actually, and saved us $9,000 as we look at next year's budget. And then future cost avoidance measures. I mentioned the alternative education program sharing with Waterford. We'll see where that goes. And we've got an agreement now, and it's working well for us. We'll see if more students enter into it in the future. And through the renovation process, with all the new windows we're putting into buildings, especially Nyack Center, there has got to be some cost savings as we look and go through next winter. We won't know until we have a full year of trend, but there's got to be some savings with heating and oil.
Right.
So I know Mariana is very excited. It keeps her up at night in relation to what that savings might bring forth. On slide 11, here's some of those enrollment projections. The next couple pages show that. This is kind of the high end of where we could be by 2027, up around 3,200 students. That's including pre-K and our 18 to 21-year-old population. But we are projected to be, over 3,000 students, which is a good thing. That's, we got a lot of families that are moving into town, and everyone we talk to, they continue to say we moved here for the schools. And we're proud of that. We're working very hard and doing some great things for kids. On the next slide, in elementary enrollment, kind of 3 different trends. This came from that Malone and McBroom study that helped us with the whole redistricting plan. So I just wanted to put, this was done last year, wanted to put this in kind of 3 different, you've got the high level, the middle level, and the low level of where your numbers might go. Elementary as of next year is supposed to start to be on the climb. So we're supposed to see upwards of 1,000 students at the elementary level. Right now we have about 800. So we're supposed to see in the next, by 2027-28, we should have up over 1,000 students between our 3 buildings, and that's what we wanted. A little over 300 in each of our 3 elementary schools. Middle school enrollment. I mentioned middle school was down a little bit. They are dipping a little bit, so they'll get to a low point actually next year, 2020-21. Of around 752 students, and then they start to jump and they climb, and they should get up. If it's at the high end, you're looking at 950, 960 students by 26, 27, or in that range. So that's good. And that building, we'll have to see. We've got one Kiva that we use for our AIM program, which is our 18 to 21-year-old program. Hopefully, we can keep them there, and we don't have to expand and need that Kiva back. Yeah. We'll see. And then, and then at the high school, the enrollment, as I mentioned, is dropping. And it could be a low point of just under 900. They've got a number of 889 potentially, which is coming up over the next 4 or 5 years or so. And then they'll start to climb because those bubbles will start to go back through. So that's, and Malone and McBroom has been fabulous with their projections. They were highly rated when we brought them on board, and they were very helpful to us. So I really hope these numbers stand. And they've had good trends in the past with other districts that they've worked with. So we'll see where it goes. But I'm proud to say that hopefully we'll get back up over, I'd love to get back over 3,000 in our numbers. We're currently sitting right around 2,700. So cost drivers for the budget, starting on slide 15. There's some key areas that why are we sitting at a 3.18% increase? Well, these areas right here, these 5, are the main reason. Our security and safety, and let's kind of go through the next couple slides, just talk about each one of these. So safety and security, we all know we're in a time of needing and requiring ongoing safety and security improvements across our buildings. East Lyme, I feel we've done a great job of bringing in safety campus security staff members in each of our buildings now who are dedicated to that purpose. They're at front desks, they're checking and monitoring people. We've had a lot of upgrades in that area, but with that comes cost. When we started this process and we had greeters at the elementary level and the middle school 2 years ago, and replaced them with security staff members like we had at the high school. That cost us, and now we are paying them an hourly rate, but we're finding other districts are starting to model, Old Lyme for one, are starting to model how we run our shift, and they're paying them more. They're paying them $26 an hour. We're currently, we're at the $15 mark, so we need to bump that up. So there's a cost associated with that for some staffing. Also, the addition of some security staff personnel, bringing Coastal Connections over, and we've had all this year because we've had students at our central office. We've had a security staff member who's been in our central office building, and we've had some issues with just people showing up at our front door and wanting to get in our building, and that's a problem. So we need a security staff member in that building, and between those two pieces, there's some increases there, about $116,557 for security and safety. Technology. Technology has been a huge component. As I mentioned before, we kind of revamped our system. We were going to go with our own in-house setup for technology, and that's what we were focusing on, for this year when we were developing this year's budget last year. Didn't work out. There were so many more problems that we've found, and Amy has worked extremely hard and brought technology under her wing because we tied it with curriculum and instruction, but didn't realize how much work we had to do. So, long story short, was a lot of work that needs to occur over the summertime, which we just haven't done because we haven't had a 12-month contract with an outside vendor. This will fix that. We'll have a 12-month contract. A lot of work, wireless access points, our infrastructure, our backbone just needs so much support and so much work. So that's a lot of work that we're going to trying to do this summer. We've done some throughout the course of this year. So that, and on the next slide 18, just to reference, if we compared ourselves to other districts, we were looking at this, just looking at Waterford next door, their total technology budget, including salaries and not benefits, is almost $1 million. We're sitting at 809. So we're underfunding our technology across the district, and we've got some work to do. So a total of $115,000 for an increase we're looking at for district technology costs. Special education costs. We're losing money from the state. Excess cost dollars are dropping. Where East Lyme is losing, $205,000. That hurts when we're only getting a couple $100,000. So we've seen a reduction there. We've got a couple of unanticipated outplacement costs and transportation costs, and our preschool. And we talk about our numbers growing at the elementary level. Our preschool is booming. And Kim, I know we've talked quite a bit about a lot of needs down there as it pertains to support for our preschool teachers as the numbers continue to rise. So we're looking to hire a certified occupational therapy assistant to support, price tag of $50,000. So We need to continue to support our special education population. We have about 430 special education students across our entire district of 2,700 students, and a number of 504 students as well. And we need to give them every support possible. They're our kids, and we will do that. We will also continue to work on regional efforts with special education. A lot of times we can share transportation. We can share if a van is going from Waterford, a van is going from East Lyme up to the same location where a student might be going to school. We can work to try and share that cost. We have a few of those situations. So a total of increase of about $423,000 in special education costs. Certified staff retirements. This is a one-hitter, a fix that we need to put in our budget. Every year, the end of the year, we've used end-of-year dollars to offset the cost of payout for individuals that are grandfathered with sick leave payout. Not the thing to do. That's not how we budget appropriately, so we're fixing that. So every year, we're prepared for making sure that the appropriate budget is supporting those costs. And just an asterisk there, we don't we're not continuing to pay out for staff sick time that was grandfathered in back in 2013, but we have a number of staff who are in the process of thinking about retiring or have retired, and we have those numbers to pay. So that's $146,000, and that, again, that's a one-time fix. And then our health insurance increase, although I think a very good move, we're all looking at moving over to the state partnership plan. It's going to save us money in the long run. It's going to allow us to budget appropriately versus kind of a wave of budget costs each year. However, there's costs that we're going to endure as we move into next year, and that's solely due to the fact that we believe we're going to have a number of folks that are going to come back onto our insurance, both our paraprofessionals as well as some of our certified staff members. Currently we have roughly about 112 paraprofessionals. There's only 9 of them that take insurance right now. We anticipate a number more that are going to jump back on. And we put some numbers at the bottom for you. Just kind of look at the total number of ELPS employees currently taking insurance is 280, and the total anticipated is 335. I believe that's about 55 of an increase. So that costs. We have to pay each one of those. Mariana's roughly could be 9. Depends if the family or individual, but you're 9,000 to
9 to 10,000. But the other, so 30. I think I did about 35 for parents. It's about 10,000, and then the remaining are other staff that we would pay about average 20,000.
Yeah. The state plan is a very favorable plan, and it's a good insurance plan, but we're going to have an anticipated cost with that with people coming back on. So $363,000. So if you pull all that together, and those 5 core areas, if we didn't have those 5 areas, I'd be standing up in front of you with a 0.75% increase. But because of those 5 areas, we're sitting at a 3.18% increase. We feel we've worked hard on both ends. A lot of savings, trying to be very fiscally responsible. But we've got some issues and things that we need to address as a district to ensure that our school system continues to thrive as it has, and we continue to bring families into town. So I'll open it up to questions, and I want to give you this book as well, which gives you kind of our whole breakdown of numbers. On page 1 and 2 of this booklet, it's kind of a good overview and further example of why some of the numbers and the overages are what they are too. Just highlighted from what I talked about. So,
Thank you.
yep. Yep. So,
Thank you, Mr. Newton.
you're welcome. Yeah, page the major budget.